Using adaptive cruise control inside of the F-150 is a straightforward process. Now this is the F-150 Lightning, but the process is going to work the exact same way regardless of the F-150 that you're in. So you've got your buttons along the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You toggle the cruise control system on this way by simply pushing the button in, and then you can set your speed by either pushing up or down, and then you can push up or down to increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. And then from there, you can also do a longer push and hold up in order to go up 10 kilometers an hour or 5 miles per hour at a time. So it's up 5 miles, up 10, and then down 5 or 10. So it's straightforward there. But let's say if you're on 47 kilometers an hour, you push and hold up, it'll bring you to 50, then 60, etc. Versus if you're in miles, you're at 47, it'll bring you up to 50, 55, etc. from there. Then you can hit the brake if you wanted to pause the speed. You can hit this button to pause the speed and then push it in again in order to resume your previously set speed. There's also a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. I want you to think of that almost like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi type of a rule. So with 1, that's good for like residential streets, city streets, things like that, or stop and go traffic. 2 or 3, just depending on your own personal comfort level when you're on highways and interstates. So it's going to be a matter of preference. Then you've also got the lane keeping system. So that one, what it's going to do, it's based off of what you have set up in the infotainment system, but it does one of 3 things. So number 1 is if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it'll shake the wheel. Number 2, it'll bump you back into your lane. Number 3, it'll do a mixture of both. And then from there, in order to use the new hands-free system, so BlueCruise, you do need to make sure that the lane keeping system is actively turned on. Because if it's not, BlueCruise is not going to work. And then there are some other settings that you're going to find inside of the infotainment system. If we click through, you've got a series of driver assistance settings. But what you're looking for is going to be cruise control. So you've got normal, cruise, and adaptive. So normal is exactly that. You set it at, let's say, 100 kilometers an hour on the highway. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will not. So you still have to hit the brake. Adaptive cruise, it's going to automatically slow you down. So if the car in front of you starts to brake, it's going to slow you down, pick you back up to your set speed. Lane centering with hands-free. So as you have the BlueCruise system enabled, it's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. It's a really cool system. Whether or not you get prompts, not a big fan. Predictive speed assist, if you're coming up to a bend, the vehicle is automatically going to slow you down. And then at the same time, if the speed goes from, let's say, 100 down to 80, it's going to decrease your speed. If the speed goes from 80 to 100, it can increase your speed. But that's also based off of a tolerance level. So are you okay with going 30 under or over the speed limit? So that one's a matter of preference. I'm personally not a fan of the speed assist, but that's on you. In-lane repositioning is a really cool one. It's very subtle as well. So if you're driving on highways, interstates, etc., you have the BlueCruise system enabled. If the truck recognizes that there's a bigger vehicle on either side, it's going to essentially help you hug the lane the opposite side. So if there's a truck on the right-hand side, you'll notice that your truck is going to slightly veer over into the outer part of the lane away from the truck. So it essentially is going to limit the potential of something happening. It's really subtle, but really neat at the same time. And then lane change assist. So all you have to do is hit the turn stalk to go left or right, and then the truck's going to check beside you, and then it's going to, once it's clear, go left or right. It's a really, really neat system. Then you've got the lane keeping system. So do you want that lane keeping alert on, yay or nay? So that's one where it's either going to give you a steering wheel shake, almost like you're running over a rumble pavement. You're not. There's nothing wrong with your alignment. It's because you're changing lanes without signaling. There's the aid, which will nudge you back into your lane, and then the alert and the aid, which will do both. And then there's the alert intensity. So that's the intensity of the steering wheel shake. And then there's just a bunch of other driver assistance settings. But if you want a full walkthrough on the infotainment system or on the steering wheel buttons, the cluster screen, things like that, you'll find it down in the description of this video. But let's go for a live demonstration and I'll show you how this actually works. All right, so as of right now, I've got the system turned on so I can push up to set a speed. I'm only at 42 and it's a 50, so I can push and hold up to get to 50 instead. And we're cruising now. I do have the lane keeping system enabled, so it technically, once it recognizes the lane markings, can keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. You can push down or up to increase 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. You can hit the brake to pause, or you can hit the little button in the middle there to pause instead. And as I mentioned, you've got the distance indicator. So how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you? For the most part, honestly, in my opinion, I typically drive with at level 1, but that's going to be a matter of preference. Like I'm okay being a little bit closer to other vehicles. You might want to be 2, 3, or even 4 away, but that's going to come down to your own personal comfort level. Now, one thing to point out, we're coming up to a red light, and unless there's somebody in front of you at the red light, the truck is not going to stop for you. So you can see here, there's a car in front of me and it's slowing me down. But if there wasn't a car in front of you, you're coming up to a red light, you have to be paying attention and actively brake yourself because it's not going to work for you otherwise. So you can use the adaptive cruise control system on regular highways, cities, streets, whatever the case may be. So city streets are great, residential streets you can use it on, highways, interstates, and things like that. But it works incredibly well. And because this is the Lightning, hold on, watch this. Power! Picking up speed inside of the F-150 Lightning is amazing. So let's go up to our posted speed limit, which is 100, I should say. There we go. And we're cruising on the highway. Now, BlueCruise doesn't work everywhere on every highway and interstate, but when it does work, you'll see a message inside of the cluster screen letting you know that you are now available, there we go, for hands-free. And we know that it's enabled right now. And there's a truck that's right next to us. So hold on, watch this. I'm gonna go driver assistance, and you can see there that it's hugging the outer part of the lane, and that's part of that in-lane repositioning because there's a truck right next to us. But watch this, as we pass the truck, you'll see that it's going to shift me back over and pull me back into the center of the lane instead. So it's very subtle when it does it, but it is so neat at the same time. It's just one, like I said, one little added layer of protection that's available here. And you can see BlueCruise system's now enabled. There is lane change assist. So all you do is hit the turn stalk, and then the truck automatically changes lanes for you. It's that simple. You can go left, right, whatever the case may be, and it does it for you. Fully hands-free driving while we're doing it. Now, you could, there we go. So you will occasionally run into this situation where I'm going in an off-ramp right now, and it's telling you, keep hands on the steering wheel. There we go. So you do have to be paying attention. You can't be looking away to the side. BlueCruise does require you actually actively paying attention. There are 2 separate cameras. So there's one just to the left-hand side of the infotainment screen, and then there's one along the driver's side door there as well. So those are watching your eyes, making sure that you're actively paying attention. And I do have lane keeping on right now. So it's not technically hands-free driving when you're strictly looking at the lane keeping system. But I mean, you see here, it's keeping me perfectly balanced in the lane, which is fantastic. Now, lane change assist does not work unless you have the BlueCruise system enabled. So BlueCruise is going to take a second to kick back on because we're on another highway right now. It'll take a second, and let's get back up to speed here. You'll notice this happens sometimes as well. So I am on a 100 road, but the speed limit still hasn't updated. So it is a 100 road, I'm on a highway, but sometimes it just takes its sweet time in order to be able to adjust your speed. But I've got BlueCruise turned on, and again, there we go. Until you start to see that hands-free message, it's not fully hands-free driving. So you do have to see hands-free pop on in order for it to work. And it's fully engaged again. So again, in a nutshell, you could turn this cruise control system on or off pushing the button here. You could then increase or decrease, even when BlueCruise is active, 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. You can pause the speed, resume your set speed, adjust your distance for how close or far away you are from the vehicle that's in front of you. And then there's also going to be the lane keeping system. So again, you do need to have that lane keeping system turned on in order for BlueCruise to actively work. But it's full hands-free driving, and it is such a great system. But like I said, if you want to walk through on the steering wheel buttons, the actual cluster, or the infotainment system, you'll find that down in the description. But that's how you utilize the BlueCruise system and the normal and adaptive cruise inside of the F-150.